In the late 1960s, scientists thought they had discovered something extraordinary. A new form of water. Not liquid, not ice, not steam. Something stranger. It was denser than normal water. It boiled at a higher temperature. It froze at a lower one. They called it polywater. Some said it could revolutionize chemistry. Others warned it might end life on Earth because it could infect normal water like a virus. It was hailed as one of the most important discoveries of the century until it all came crashing down. This is the story of Polywater, the fake discovery that fooled science. Our story begins in the Soviet Union, around 1961. A researcher named Nikolai Fedyakin, working in a small lab near Kostroma, was studying how water behaved in tiny glass capillary tubes, hair-thin structures that trap liquid in narrow spaces. He noticed something odd. The water trapped in those capillaries behaved differently. It was thicker, more viscous, and seemed to evaporate much more slowly. When he tested it, it even had a higher boiling point and lower freezing point than normal water. Fedyakin thought he had discovered a new phase of water. Soon, other Soviet scientists repeated his experiments and confirmed it. They called this mysterious liquid condensed water, later renamed polywater. In the height of the Cold War, Western scientists were fascinated and alarmed. In 1966, a Soviet scientist named Boris Derjaguin, a respected researcher, presented his findings on polywater to an international audience. He claimed this wasn't a chemical impurity. It was a new form of water, with a polymeric structure, molecules linked in chains, like plastic. The Western press went wild. The US and UK launched their own polywater programs. NASA, the US Navy, and major universities began experiments. By the late 1960s, dozens of papers were published about polywater. Some called it the fourth phase of water. It wasn't just strange, it was potentially world-changing. But then came a chilling idea. What if polywater wasn't just new, but dangerous? A few scientists speculated that if polywater touched normal water, it could convert it, molecule by molecule, until all water on Earth transformed into this sticky, polymeric sludge. Science fiction writers jumped on the idea. In 1970, Isaac Asimov wrote a short story imagining a world where polywater wiped out life. Even serious scientists feared what might happen if polywater escaped the lab. Some joked about water quarantine. Others weren't joking. Polywater had become both a scientific sensation and a scientific nightmare. But as the excitement grew, so did skepticism. A few researchers started to ask uncomfortable questions. What if polywater wasn't a new form of water at all? A young American chemist named Denis Rousseau decided to investigate. He carefully reproduced the experiments and noticed something strange. The samples of polywater varied wildly depending on who made them. Some were slightly acidic, others contained salts, organic compounds, even traces of sweat. Rousseau realized the truth might be simple and embarrassing. Polywater wasn't exotic water. It was dirty water, contaminated with tiny amounts of glass, oil, dust, or biological material from the capillary tubes themselves, and the people handling them. In other words, scientists had been fooled by impurities. By 1973, the entire illusion had collapsed. When purified, sterilized equipment was used, polywater vanished. No one could reproduce the mysterious effects. What remained were contaminated residues, not a new substance. The Nature and Science papers that once hailed polywater quietly faded from citation lists. Scientists who had built careers on the phenomenon moved on. In just a few years, polywater went from miracle to myth, and it became a case study in how even brilliant scientists can be fooled, when the evidence fits a too-good-to-be-true story. Polywater taught the scientific world a hard but vital lesson. It wasn't a case of fraud, it was human bias. Scientists wanted to believe they'd found something revolutionary. Confirmation bias, national pride, and Cold War competition did the rest. Polywater became a textbook example of the self-correcting nature of science. Mistakes happen, but the system eventually finds them. Today, when scientists announce a strange new discovery, skeptics remember Polywater, because if fake water could fool the world once, it can happen again. Every era has its Polywater, the discovery that captures imagination, fuels headlines, and later, quietly disappears. And that's the beauty of science. Even when it's wrong, it learns. This was the story of Polywater, the fake discovery that fooled science. If you love deep dives into the strangest moments in scientific history, hit like, subscribe, and tell us what forgotten discovery we should cover next.